Hello and welcome to a special solo edition of Dingers and Stingers. I am hosting by myself today. I'm Drew. Matt is not here with me. He is solo hosting our football episode this week, so make sure you check that out. And Dallas couldn't join us. He's doing some family stuff because it's Thanksgiving week, and that's when you spend time with family. So we'll allow him that. I am here just to talk about baseball this week. I that's kind of my task, my duty as the self-proclaimed baseball expert on the podcast. So, not a ton going on at this point in the calendar, but there are three fairly notable trades that I'm going to break down. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then I'll end it with a little bit of fan corner that kind of bleeds into our discussion. And I'll do my dingers and stingers at the end as well. So, make sure if you enjoy this video, like, subscribe, all that. Follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers. We also are on Spotify. So, if you want to just listen there, that's great. Very happy to have you wherever you get your podcasts. And let's dive into this because kind of an interesting week. I'm going to go chronologically through these trades. So there were three pretty, what I would call notable trades, right? We've got the Orioles and the Angels making a trade, which actually happened when we were recording. We were playing our trivia game last week. If you didn't see that yet, go back and check it out. But we were in the middle of that game, and I had to interrupt and let Dallas know that his Angels made a trade. They traded outfielder Taylor Ward to the Orioles, and coming back was starting pitcher Grayson Rodriguez. So, an interesting trade, to say the least. We very briefly touched on it last week, but really, this is going to be the discussion here. So, unfortunately, don't have Dallas to give his thoughts on it, but as a whole, let's talk about both sides. So the Orioles last year, 2025, had a very down year, disappointing. They expected to be better. They've got all that young talent and just a disappointing year. A lot of injuries, but also a lot of guys that just didn't perform to the levels that they've been hoping. And the biggest thing to me was that they just didn't really have the pitching to stay in the race. And so this is interesting from their side because they're acquiring Taylor Ward, an outfielder. And I kind of felt like they had their outfield covered. They've got Colton Cowser, they've got Tyler O'Neill, they've got Dylan Beavers, they've got Heston Kjerstad, however you say his name. But they're kind of in a mode of, well, wait, this window might be closing quicker than we thought if these guys don't pan out to the extent that we thought they would. One of the guys that hasn't quite panned out yet for them was Grayson Rodriguez, who was their only real stud pitching prospect in a sea of position player prospects. Grayson Rodriguez spent all of 2025 injured, and the back half of 2024 as well. So he hasn't gotten too much play in the big leagues yet, but I'm going to share a screen with you and show you his baseball reference page. So, sorry, 1 second. So we look at his baseball reference page, you'll see he only pitched in 2023 and 2024 so far, only a combined 238 innings and a combined ERA of 4.11. So, solid, nothing special, nothing too spectacular yet. But if we take a look at his Baseball Savant page, again, he didn't pitch in 2025. But in 2024, you see a lot of red here. His breaking ball needs work. His fastball needs some work. But the off speed, which would be, I guess, like changeups, things like that, you can see he used that 21% of the time. That was a very valuable pitch for him. And elite extension, you would expect that. He's 6'5". He's only 26 years old. He had a nice K percentage, nice whiff percentage. He's getting guys to chase. The velo is there. You could maybe expect more as he comes back from injury. Um, Everything else kind of, middle of the road to a little bit better or a little bit worse. But I want to talk about, let's stop sharing the screen for a second. Um, I think this was a really good move for the Angels and a really kind of confusing move for the Orioles, even if they get the better player for 2026. Taylor Ward is coming off a great year where he had his most home runs and his most RBIs kind of by a lot. He had 36 home runs, he had 103 RBIs last year. However, that came at the expense of maybe some on base numbers because he only had a 317 on base this year. That was a career low since he's been a full time big leaguer. But his slugging was up. So, it's a trade off. But overall, it was probably his second best season. And this will be a contract year for him. So I expect big things. I think the Orioles got a really good player. I just don't know. I don't know if they addressed a need by trading for Taylor Ward. I think their bigger need was pitching. And Grayson Rodriguez, who they traded away, is a pitcher. So from the Angels side of things, I really like it. Now, on one hand, you could say the Orioles giving up on Grayson Rodriguez, that could mean they really don't trust his injury history. They really don't know if he's ever going to pan out to be that ace that they kind of thought he could be. Because if they thought that, they would not have traded him for a 1-year rental here. But Grayson Rodriguez, they get him for the next 4 years or so. And I showed you a Savant page. There's a lot to like. It's a huge upside play, really. The Angels are further away from competing than the Orioles, I think, by most people's estimation. And so this is not a win-now move, but it has the potential to be a win-now move. If Grayson Rodriguez comes back and he's healthy, which he said he is, he says he feels healthy, then this is a massive move for the Angels, and at the cost of 1 year of a corner outfielder who, you probably weren't going to re-sign. Yeah, you never know, but if he's going to be a free agent, you got competition from 29 teams, and you get something for him. I think Grayson Rodriguez, if he pans out, this is a steal for the Angels. And worst case scenario, it kind of comes off as a wash because Taylor Ward might have one really good year in Baltimore, but that's the only guaranteed year. Grayson Rodriguez has 4 years in Anaheim. So we'll see how that works out for both these teams, but very interesting to say the least. And I like it more from the Angels side than I do from the Orioles side. That's what I'll say. What would either of these teams do next, do you think? I think that the Angels are always going to be randomly active in free agency. I could see them signing someone from maybe the B or C tier of free agents. I doubt any of the A tier guys will want to go there, but you show enough money to a B tier guy and he forgets about wanting to win a World Series and remembers that he can take care of his family forever. So there's reports they're interested in Bellinger. That could be interesting. Maybe they swing a trade for an Arenado, someone with name value there. I don't know. The Angels offseason is always kind of an interesting place. They got some good pitching performances last year. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And for the Orioles, they have to get pitching, whether that's a trade, whether that's signing. They should be able to sign, let's say, a Dylan Cease or a Framber Valdez. Will they? I don't know. They didn't do anything last offseason, and that felt like a bigger year to maybe build around the young talent. But maybe now they see, they can't afford to not. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Orioles. They should be active in the pitching market. It remains to be seen if they are. Let's go chronologically to the next trade, the next big trade. That was between the Texas Rangers and the New York Mets. So this was a really, really interesting one because the name recognition of the guys being traded, right? So the Rangers traded away Marcus Semien, their high-priced second baseman, who's 35 years old, who had a down year last year, but he was an integral part of them winning the World Series in 2023, where I believe that was the year he finished third in MVP voting for like the third time in his life. Obviously, he's a bit older now, 35, but still a very valuable player because he is a great defender. He's the Gold Glove winner, but he has a great range. He still can run a bit, but the hitting just was not there last year. And for the first time in maybe ever, the longevity wasn't there. He only played somewhere around 130 games, or maybe even less. And we're used to him being a guy who could play 162. He's just been historically one of those Iron Men. Not really the case this last year, but still a valuable player. And the Mets traded away in return Brandon Nimmo, who is 32. He is their longest tenured player. He was drafted in the first round of 2011 and has been in the Mets organization ever since. Signed a big contract a few years ago. Still has 5 years left on that contract. So kind of a swap of big contracts because Semien has 3 years left on his at more per year. And the Rangers will now be paying Brandon Nimmo longer than Semien was being paid, but on a smaller annual basis. So really an interesting swap. Not one you get to see too often. A 1-for-1 recognizable player for recognizable player. So I'm going to share my screen with you again, and we'll see what they looked like last year. This is a head-to-head. You see that Marcus Semien was the more valuable player by Baseball Reference WAR, even though Brandon Nimmo out-hit him in every category. So that comes a lot from Semien's defense and Nimmo being not that great a defender. His outs above average was -1. Arm strength, arm value, all of that is pretty middling. And if you look at, this Baseball Savant page, it doesn't look super strong for Brandon Nimmo. And here's Semien's by comparison. More red here, but it's more about, the choices he makes and how he hits the ball. Nimmo's red, he hits the ball hard, but it's not necessarily that often. Hard hit percentage is high, but barrel percentage is low, sweet spot percentage is very low. And the most eye-popping number here in Brandon Nimmo's page is his walk percentage, which is at a 44. And I'll play through the little, year-by-year Savant rankings. You can see the first year he was qualified, 2018, he was 94th percentile. And then the next time he was qualified, 2020, he was 90th percentile walk percentage, 96th in 2021. 78th in 2022, 80th in 2023, back up to 91 in 2024, and then way down to 44. And I wonder if he made some kind of adjustment to his swing, to his approach, where he decided, I'm going to swing more often, I'm going to try to hit the ball harder, do more damage, and because I'll be swinging more often, I will not take as many walks. I don't know. But both of these players, despite their names, are not in the best place of their careers. So who do I like this trade for? I feel like I like it. It's tough because both teams were disappointing. The Mets collapsed. The Rangers had the best pitching in baseball, but didn't have enough offense to compete. Both of them needed shakeups. So I think this was more of a vibe shift for both teams than it was an actual baseball trade. It gives the Mets more long-term financial flexibility. It gives the Rangers more short-term financial flexibility. I don't know. We've talked about the Rangers are maybe in a position where they can't spend too much. They're trying to cut payroll. There was Corey Seager trade rumors brewing. They still are. I don't know if I see that happening now that they got rid of Semien and they convinced Brandon Nimmo to waive his no-trade clause by saying, we're ready to compete. We want to win a World Series again. So, we'll see. I think both of these teams, we just need to see what else they do. I don't think this was a move that was going to really move the needle one way or another. I think the Mets got better defensively, which is something they needed to do, but now they have a lot of they have, I think, two openings in their outfield alongside Juan Soto. So they got moves to make. They still need a lot of pitching as well. The Rangers all of a sudden got worse defensively. They already have non-tendered Jonah Heim and Adolis Garcia this offseason, and then trading Semien. So you're already losing a lot of parts of that World Series core from just a few years ago. But Nimmo is younger, and he brings a different skill set. So I kind of like it for the Rangers, shake things up a little bit. I think Nimmo is probably at this point of their careers the better player. Is it by such a degree that it really makes a difference? I don't know. He's a worse defender, so maybe it balances out. But I just thought, I thought this was really interesting. It changed the vibes of both teams that we've kind of known the vibes of for a while. So it's really a move where we got to see what else comes from it. I don't think either team got particularly better or particularly worse in this deal, but it's certainly noteworthy, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. The last trade we're going to talk about, and this is where we're going to bleed into fan corner, was my Boston Red Sox made a move. They traded Richard Fitz, aka Dick Fitz, and their number 5 prospect-ish, and Brandon Clark to the Cardinals, and they got Sonny Gray in return. So Sonny Gray is the big name. This was one of those trades where it's kind of a more typical trade you see compared to those last two, where it is a couple of young guys traded for a more established guy. The Cardinals are also sending the Red Sox $20 million to help cover Sonny Gray's low-key massive payroll for this year. I didn't realize he'd be making that much money, but essentially he's going to be making $41 million this year, and $20 million, so basically half of it, will be covered by the Cardinals. Richard Fitz is a major league ready. I think he has options. He can go back and forth between AAA and the majors, kind of a depth starting pitcher. Maybe he ends up being a bullpen guy. Or, on a rebuilding team like the Cardinals seem to be heading towards, he could be like a 4 or 5 starter. No problem, especially a team with good defense, because I don't think he's like the biggest strikeout guy. And then Brandon Clark is, I guess it depends who you ask, how you think about him. I follow a lot of Red Sox people, saw a lot of their takes about Brandon Clark. It seems like he's listed as the number 5 prospect. Those prospect lists haven't really been updated, and I think a lot of people say he probably would drop down closer to 10 to 15 range in the Red Sox system. He has a really electric arm, throws left-handed. He's young. That's all exciting, but he walks a lot of guys. He hasn't pitched above high A. The results haven't totally been there, and there's a big risk, I guess, that he will just be a relief pitcher when he eventually makes it to the major leagues. So, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But I think for the Red Sox, this was a good move. With an asterisk, because Sonny Gray, let's look at his Savant page for a second. Share my screen again. This is Sonny Gray's Baseball Savant page from last year. Still has an elite breaking ball. He throws a lot of different pitches, and the fastball is one of the worst pitches in baseball. The changeup, it looks like too, but the breaking stuff is there still. So some good stuff there. Still gets chases, still does not walk very many guys. I think he had the best strikeout to walk ratio in the National League last year. Had over 200 strikeouts. So those are the things you like. Those are the things the Red Sox like. Still a strikeout guy, and has potential to be, a number 2 if he's at his best. The surface numbers were not that great last year. 4.28 ERA. It seems like he had he didn't have a lot of okay starts. He had either a lot of really good starts or really, really terrible starts. So I think that can affect his numbers, and obviously that's not something you want to see, but I think the Red Sox pitching lab over there with Breslow and Bailey and whoever else, they can look at this and they can find what's good and keep the good and kind of get rid of the bad. I don't expect very many fastballs from him next year, for example. So I like the move. You know, you're paying $21 million for Sonny Gray for 1 year at age 36. Um, Still a good pitcher. So I'm not mad about that. That's less than what Giolito would be making if he got the qualifying offer. And it is less than we paid Walker Buehler last year, and he ended up, not working out at all. So I'm not mad about the money, the prospects giving up. I've given up. I think Richard Fitz is a good personality guy, but other than that, I'm not really broken up about who we gave up. I think it was a fair deal. So there's two ways of looking at this trade as a Red Sox fan. And the first way is positive, where, hey, we got a good pitcher. He's better than Lucas Giolito, I would say. Even if the surface numbers were not as good, the under-the-hood numbers are way better than Giolito. So I would expect going forward, he will be better than Giolito. It's only 1 year. He upgrades your rotation. It's a better rotation, there's no doubt. The bad version of it is we desperately need a number 2 starter. Whether that's Joe Ryan or Hunter Green, or on the free agent market, that's Dylan Cease, or, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, someone like that. If Sonny Gray ends up being this number 2 starter acquisition, I think we're underwhelmed. I don't think that feels great. As a Red Sox fan, I think our sights were set higher, a pitcher with higher upside. Sonny Gray, the other concern I have is that in his career, he's had a nice long career, a lot of good years. His best years have come when he played on fairly anonymous teams, and I mean, the markets are not crazy. So he was really good with Oakland when he played for the A's. He was really good with the Twins. He was really good with the Reds, and he's been pretty good with the Cardinals. But by far, his worst years were when he was a member of the New York Yankees. And you can chalk that up to a lot of different things, and I'm sure someone has delved into the numbers and seen what that's all about. But part of me wonders, like, maybe there's just a personality thing where he can't take the pressure of that big media. He has, I think, the worst ERA at Yankee Stadium of any pitcher who's currently playing and has a certain amount of innings there, whatever. As a Red Sox fan, that concerns me. I mean, we're just as big of a market in terms of how we treat our baseball team and how we talk about our players. There's a lot of pressure there, and we're gonna have to play in Yankee Stadium. And as the rotation stands right now, it'd be Garrett Crochet game 1 in a playoff series, and Sonny Gray probably game 2. And so there is a lot of pressure there. I do think he's an upgrade to our rotation. I don't think I feel confident in this being the final rotation, but there are some news reports. I will say it's not news necessarily. It's just people kind of taking what they've heard behind the scenes or what Craig Breslow said at the press conference and kind of thinking maybe this is it for rotation upgrades. And if that's the case, I'm underwhelmed. But it's November. I need to see the rest of the offseason. I'm not counting them out on any other pitcher. And of course, they need lineup upgrades as well. There's a lot to be done. So in a vacuum, I really like this move for the Red Sox. Big picture, if it ends up being the biggest pitching move they make this offseason, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it. So that's not to say it was a bad move. It's just a bad move if that's your big move, I think. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Those are the big trades that have gone down. Hopefully we see some more action soon. The winter meetings are just a few weeks away. We'll see a lot of activity there in the free agent market, in the trade market, and hopefully some stuff ramping up to that as well. We'll see some more movement. So we're going to talk more about free agency, more about trades as they happen. We're going to try to get some shorts done where we talk about fits for free agency, and we'll talk about our own teams and everything. But this was just a Thanksgiving week holiday episode. It's just me. So I wanted to break them down in more of a baseball sense. So that's it. That's all I have about the trades. I'm going to end this show by talking about my dingers and my stingers for the week. So we do it every episode. If you haven't watched yet, it is my dinger is my favorite thing from the sports world this week, and my stinger is my least favorite thing from the sports world this week. And you know what? It's Thanksgiving, so I'm going to do a special edition where I'm not really considering the sports world right now. I'm going to just do my dinger and stinger. And my dinger is that tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I'm recording this on Wednesday. And I have a lot to be thankful for. I have a good life. I have a couple dogs. I have a wife who is wonderful. I get to do this podcast with my friends, and it's good stuff. So I'm happy about that, and I'm thankful for anyone who watches this stuff. I know it's not too many people yet, but I'm happy for all of you. That I'm thankful for all of you for tuning in and watching our stuff. So thank you for that. That's my dinger. My stinger for the week is you might have noticed I have this pinky bandaged up, and yesterday I sliced my pinky pretty good on a broken piece of glass that was in the trash. Long story, whatever. It's cut up bad. My wife had to help me wrap it up. A lot of blood, really scary, and it hurts right now. So I'm gonna be okay. I'll be all right. I've got my people taking care of me, but that is my stinger, literally, for this week. So thanks for watching. Remember, follow us on Instagram, Dingers and Stingers. Watch our show, subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. We're going to try to have a lot more content coming at you in the next couple months, but I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.